When the fire is hottest and the night is darkest, that's when the enemy whispers and says, you are all alone. But God speaks louder and he says, I am with you. Hey, I'm Bishop Robert Gosselin with the Confessing Anglican Church, and I want to welcome you because each morning you and I get together for the first word. It's not just for information, it's for formation. It brings clarity and that peace within you that only Christ can give. So take a breath, settle your mind and your heart, and let's begin with the first word. Because I want you to know that you are not alone, even now. Trials, tests, illnesses, loss, sometimes they can burn like fire. And in those moments, one can feel very, very alone. And if you're feeling alone right now, this is a word of hope for you. Let's begin with the bottom line. You don't have to be alone. A single promise from God can become the bedrock beneath your feet, even when you feel like flames are rising around you. See, there's a big difference between choosing solitude for reflection and feeling abandoned. Grief and pressure often push us into quiet places, but sometimes the problems grow so large they just block out the people who we hoped would stand with us, and we find ourselves feeling neglected or rejected or deserted or forgotten, and sometimes even God-forsaken. But into that darkness, God shines a promise. It's a promise found in Deuteronomy 31:8. Here it is. The Lord himself goes before you and will be with you. Here it comes. And he will never leave you nor forsake you. So do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. That is such an amazing promise. Because he goes before you. He is leading you. He's the shepherd who walks ahead of his sheep, even through the valley of the shadow of death. Now, from your perspective and mine, it may be too dark to see him in that valley, but he's there. Never forget in the darkness what you learned in the light, because he will be with you. You are never alone. Now, you may only see it in hindsight, but the day will come when his presence and strength will be unmistakable. Faith is the conviction of things hoped for and things not yet seen. So let that faith strengthen you before the deliverance arrives. Trust him. He promised never to leave you or forsake you. You are never God-forsaken. There's a story in the Old Testament about 3 Hebrew slaves that once faced the worst day of their lives. The king demanded they worship an idol or be burned alive. Now their choice seemed impossible. Abandon God or lose our lives. But you see, they trusted his promise and they refused to abandon him. Well, true to his word, the king stoked up the furnace hotter than it was before, and he threw the 3 of them in the fire. Do you know what happened in the fire? In the fire, those 3 lads discovered the truth. They discovered they weren't in that fire alone. A 4th man stood with them, the Son of God himself. And so I repeat the bottom line. You don't have to be alone. Ever. Early American Indian tribes, like the Apache, the Mohawk, the Cheyenne, they had a practice of training their young braves. Now, it involved deep woods and blindfolds and learning how to deal with overwhelming fear. See, terror always has a way of focusing your attention on an important lesson. So on the night of a boy's 13th birthday, after learning hunting and scouting and fishing skills, he was put to one final test. He was blindfolded. He was walked well away from his camp into an area he hadn't been, into a dense forest, to spend the entire night alone. Now, until then, he had never been away from the security of his family, being surrounded by his tribe. But on this night, he was taken several miles away from his home after he was blindfolded. And when he finally took off the blindfold, he's in the middle of thick woods. And let me tell you, terrified. Every time a twig snapped, every time a sound came up, he visualized a wild animal ready to pounce. And after what seemed like an eternity, dawn finally broke and the first rays of sunlight entered into the interior of the forest. And looking around, the boy could see flowers and trees, the outline of a path. Then, to his utter astonishment, he beheld the figure of a man standing just a few feet away, armed with a bow and an arrow nocked, ready to go, ready to defend instantly. It was his father. His father had been there all night long, unseen, but totally present. Friend, when you feel alone, you're not. He is always with you, sometimes unseen, but never absent. So don't be afraid. Don't be discouraged. He will sustain you. And one day, you're going to see it clearly. So stand strong and wait, because you're not alone.